This is Boxing Tickets NI. We're delighted to be joined by Ireland's newest promoter, Jay Byrne. How are you, Jay?
How you stay all right, bye?
I guess we're 5 days on now from obviously the beginning show. Probably in 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 some ways, obviously, I know when he launched JB Promotions and Management that there was no plan to sort of come into the market in 2023. But I guess with two shows cancelling, obviously, unfortunately in September, there was an opportunity came and what an opportunity it was. It probably highlighted probably in a lot of ways, obviously, what JB Promotion is going to be all about. Would be fair to say.
Yeah, I think it gave people a glimpse. It was what I said it would be. It gave people a glimpse of what I hope the future will be. I won't go too far ahead of myself. A lot of people have done one show, two show, three shows, and fell off the wagon. So I do believe what I said on day one of the first press conference will happen. I think we will grow. I think we will become something big in Ireland. Um, I think the other night showed that the level we sold out. Okay, it wasn't a massive venue, but it was a 700 capacity, and if it sold out, doors were closed. Had to be closed early because there were still people trying to get in. I think the fights summed up what I said from day one as well. I won't be just bringing in people just to fall on the ground and run away and like trying to make money or whatever. It's not going to happen. I got brought in opponents that were going to test the lads on all levels, whether they be debutants or few fights into their careers. The right fights at the right times is important. Um,
I was going to say one of the things that obviously I seen that obviously me coming down from Belfast, obviously I planned to be there earlier, but there was a couple of accidents in the road. But I I come into the venue about 10 to 7 in the queue. You think you were going into a nightclub, it was that sort of respecting the big long queues to get in. And obviously that was
yeah,
that was obviously the queue. So I could even vouch for that obviously I seen and I was going, how am I going to get in here? Because I knew the first fight was at 7:15. I was going, how am I getting in? Lucky I was able to sort of push my way past. Obviously, being media, people were obviously thankful. I guess they need the media there to follow. But like as you just said there, obviously there was no easy fights. You had what three debutants on the card as well, and
yeah.
was it three debutants?
Three
Three.
debutants, and then Tony McGlynn was like basically a new debut all over again because he hasn't fought boxed in 2 years. Luke Keeler's return after 3.5 years was like nearly another debut. So there's a lot of returns, but like people looked at me, and even the BUI were trying to get me to have a headline fight. We were trying everything to get a Celtic title fight or an Irish title fight or something to headline the card because you know f- uh, you're doing seven fights and the seven of them are four rounders. You're kind of thinking, this isn't going to be a great night. But I done the matchmaking myself, and I made sure I matched the fights accordingly. I didn't want people going in and blowing away people, getting stoppages really quick and early. I wanted some tests. Yeah, some of the tests were a little bit more of a test than I thought, down to the opponents being really game and showing more on the night than they showed in previous fights that I had studied. Um, I don't know. I do things my own way. I learn from everyone. I'm always open. I spoke to a number of promoters coming up to the fight, and every day is a school day. I spoke to one promoter, and a promoter who used to promote and promoted many a show, and he offered a helping hand if I needed it. And I said I'd always take any advice I could get. I'd learn massively from him, and I would do that from everybody. But I do have my own little ways of doing things. Um, like I matched the fights, but I studied all the opponents myself before I matched the fights, before I put it to the coaches to see what they thought. But I did study the fights. I did study the type of opponents because well, especially for my five lads, I kind of knew the fights they needed, um, and the fights that I wanted to give them. So I had a number of opponents, and I studied them, and I kind of picked the ones I thought were best suited to them, and then sent it to the coaches to have a look at before they approved it. And I think that's important because sometimes you might send two or three opponents to a coach, and the coach might take the easy way out and say, "Yeah, I'll take him because he's the easiest," and they know their lad's going to get in, he's going to knock them out. Some coaches aren't, too pushed about putting their lads into tough fights, etc. So I just feel that I wouldn't just grab the opponents and fire them to the coaches. I studied them myself. And there was one or two that I looked at and went, no, Jesus, no, he's not ready for him, or that won't suit him, or such and such, So I just feel I do things a little bit differently. Regarding production and all that stuff, again, that's something I really have a tasty eye for. Even when I ran my amateur shows back 10 years ago, I always made sure we had all the glitz and glam, and we made it be as best standard we possibly could. And that cost money. And, the making the money isn't massively important to me. It's not losing money is important, and giving all these lads opportunities to build their careers. Because if I can build their careers the way I plan on building their careers and get them to certain levels, like it's like everything, you can't build a house without foundations. And people say, in your first year in business, you never make money. That is right. I've been in business for many a year, and it's important to me that I don't cut corners to try and make a quick buck, because I'll be sitting here next year finished, and I won't be doing anything in the game. Whereas I have plans for next year, and I don't plan on making money in the next year. I plan on building the platform, and I plan on JB Promotions being the home of Irish boxing. And that doesn't mean I'm trying to beat other promoters or I'm trying to compete with other promoters, because I'm not. I want to work with all the promoters. I want the best for the lads. I just want to be. I'm a Dublin boy. I've boxed in Dublin. I've come from Dublin. Boxing was started in Dublin, where I didn't get to fight in Dublin a massive amount. And I feel now it's up to me now. I'm a Dublin boy in Dublin, and I feel like it's up to me now to really build back up Dublin boxing. So that doesn't mean, again, that I'm doing Dublin and no one else is doing Dublin. I'm willing to work with every promoter. I'm willing to put any fighters on my cards. I'm willing to sign fighters from all over the country, and I want to sign fighters from all over the country, because next year is a busy year, and at the minute I probably have about a dozen fighters. I've signed another couple that I haven't announced yet, which will be announced in the next few days, and there's other ones I'm talking to at the minute. So, but for the volume of shows I plan on doing, I need a volume of fighters, and I need to work with other promoters. And there's no competition with me. I don't want competition. If any other promoters are thinking this is competition and they want to do better or whatever, just steer clear of me, because I'm not in a game where I'm going into arguments or I'm going into competition and competing with other promoters. I want to work with every promoter in this country, and I want to bring the best in boxing for Irish boxing to whatever platform it is. I don't mind if it's their shows, my shows. Once the moment and the time is right for the fighter, it doesn't matter what show they box on. It's about getting the boxer to the highest platform we can get them to, and whatever makes sense, whoever shows makes sense, makes sense.
It's very much one of them, like obviously, 15 shows I think is scheduled at the moment. There's maybe the potential of a 16th show in the year for boxing to grow, and obviously as they continue to have all these amazing nights of boxing, everybody needs to work together. Yes, there's going to be competition to a certain degree of obviously better standard of show, better standard of fights on shows, but obviously the more volume, the more competition. In some ways is great, because if it keeps fighters busy, it obviously gives people an opportunity. Letterkenny, Dublin, Waterford, Galway. It doesn't matter where it is. There's a lot more venues now there, and it's showing that boxing works. So the
I
more
don't think it's even competition.
shows, the
Like,
better.
I don't even think it's competition. I think it's more, if I look at other shows and I'll take ideas from that show and I'll implement them to my show, and they can do the same for my shows. It's not about competition. It's not about my show's better than yours, or I done this better than you done yours. That's petty. I don't want to go down the road of that. And if anyone wants to play that game, let them play that game. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is delivering to the fighters. The fighters are all that matters. It's not about the promoter. It's not about anything. You want to give the boxers the most professional platform you can give them. Like, you want to give them a platform that looks like they're on Sky Sports. It looks like they're on BT. It looks like they're on Wazaman. It looks like they're on these shows, because at the end of the day, our goal is to get them to that platform, to get them to them stages, that they will become regulars on them big platforms. So we don't want them going in like a deer in the headlights, because they've been boxing in halls and they're not used to They're not used to production. They're not used to big ring walks. They're not used to press conferences and things like that. And that takes emotion. The emotions take over on the week of a fight, and they're drained come fight night, all because it was a whole new platform for them. That's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to give them that platform that it mirrors what the big shows are like and what the big platforms are like. So therefore, when they do come to that, they're used to it. It's second nature to them, and then you'll see the best in them again. So, in regards competing, who's better? I don't care who's better. All I want to know, and the only competition I feel we should have is where they might feel they have the best, lightweight, and I feel I have the best lightweight. So what do? We do a deal together. We sit down as two promoters or a manager, and we say, well, why not do a joint show? Or look at, I have this show coming up. This suits both of them. They come and box on my show, and this is the deal we'll do. Or no, look at your show makes more sense. So they box on your show. Again, it's not about competition. It's about making the best platform possible for the fighters, because the fighters are all that matters. And if I can take small hints from one of their shows, I'll take it and I'll implement it into my show, and I hope they can do the same. And then what will happen is healthy competition like that means it'll benefit all the shows. So the show standard in Ireland is here. It'll start coming to here, to here, to here, to here. So then it means no matter what show is on, it's always going to have that top standard and the top level. And the only people who are going to benefit from that is the watching public and the fighters. And that's the only ones that matter, because the promoters don't matter.
Obviously on your fight week, I think you had a couple obviously of late changes. Obviously, I guess it's something you obviously need to prepare for. I guess if everything would have went plain sailing for you last week, you'd be going, what's going on? Am I giving these guys too much money? It's coming in as opponents if nothing happens. But obviously it's something you have to expect. And I think I guess you're able to make decisions very late on, towards the end of the week, it was still able to get fights out there. I think Gervin Mendoza obviously didn't appear for one, and I think there was
that was a nightmare. Yeah, that was a nightmare. We had an issue where we had his flights and his coach's flights booked, and I booked him through a tour party, Skyscanner or something like that it was, and I booked it, and they needed to do the verification on the Ryanair app. And the night before the flight, which was Wednesday night, I was on the phone to Gervin's manager, and Gervin was there. I was doing video calls with him. He was trying to do it, and he got his done, but it said that the flight verification couldn't be done until the other travelling party done his, but he was in the hospital, he was in a car crash or something that day, so he couldn't do it. So I ended up having to book Gervin another flight over, which cost me like £300 sterling. Then his manager dropped him to the bus station or the train station to bring him to go to the airport. And this is at 11 o'clock at night, and he was heading to the airport at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I had a message off his manager the next morning saying, Jay, how are you? I dropped Gervin to the bus station or train station, and so could you just please look after him when he gets over there? Obviously, because his coach is there. I said, yeah, of course. I'd arrange a hand wrapper and a coach for him. And all was thinking, Butch was doing the pickups at the airport. Butch went to the airport at 7:30, 7:45 the next morning. No sign of Gervin. He never arrived. Even after we invested another £300 in a flight to get him there, he never turned up. So it became kind of 8:30, 9 o'clock. We realised he ain't arriving. Didn't get through to his manager. His manager was in bed. Didn't get out of bed till like 11 or half 11. He couldn't get through to him. So it was like 11 o'clock, and I had to go and try to find another opponent. And I wanted another game opponent in around the same height, in around the same kind of style to come in for Senan. I had 4 opponents in front of me, and I picked which I felt was the better opponent, the best opponent, and the one that matched Gervin. So Senan could have a similar fight with a game opponent, because I think Senan needed that going into a 6 fight. And we arranged Edgar. We got Edgar in and down. He was in the next. He came down the next day, weighed in, bang on 67.6 kilos. I videoed it, sent it to BUI. I got all the paperwork done the day before and it was approved. So yeah, it wasn't all plain sailing. That was a bit of a nightmare. I didn't sleep at all myself on the Wednesday night, because I don't know, must have been in my head unannounced to myself that it was something going on that I didn't know about. But look, that was a small issue. Bar that, like, the matchmaking, I think, was fairly good.
We're just getting a bit of a delay, with voice and speaking coming through. With obviously 3 debutants on the card, probably I would say the one of us. Well, there's probably a toss up of 2. Obviously your own brother Glenn, obviously, and with obviously Alan White, who probably, I think a lot of people there on the night we're probably very impressed with Alan. Obviously, he's going to be a journeyman, obviously, and the one and only sort of Irish journeyman we sort of have at the moment. But he's of a very, very good standard. And I think I had said to Glenn, and Glenn had said in an interview as well to myself, was he's going to show up to fights, and an opponent's not going to be there giving 100% or thinking they're having an easy night. And he's going to obviously take people's O's. He's going to have upsets. Not that's his job, but that's what he's going to do because he's a good, honest fighter, and he's probably too good to be a journeyman in some respects. But he gave your brother a good 4 tough rounds and on Friday night, and I think you needed to have words with Glenn at the end of the first round just to make sure he was switched on 100% for the fight.
Yeah, look, Alan was better than we thought. There wasn't an awful lot to look at, but we did look at a bit of Alan. Alan likes to box on the back foot, which is different for the journeyman, because the journeyman usually just kind of hands up on the back foot, but Alan actually likes to fight on the back foot. And when you got a prospect and the prospect's coming forward, you're actually playing into Alan's hands. I just told Glenn to go out and establish his jab. Don't get too involved. Establish your jab and work off the jab for the first round and let me suss him out. And we discussed him when we came back. I felt that Glenn was too eager to go forward. Alan was happy to go to the back foot, hit the ropes and come off the ropes. And I felt Glenn was leaning in a lot of times. Again, it's inexperience and it's stuff we've worked on in camp with him, that we need to get out of his game. And he done it in his last fight over in London. And but I felt once I just kind of had to tell him at the end of the first round, hold the middle of the ring. Stay in the middle of the ring. Let him come to you. We can't just stand on the ropes. If you're standing in the middle of the ring wanting to fight, he's going to have to come to you. When he comes to you, then establish your jab. And I felt Glenn done a lot better in the second round and the third round. I thought he took over in the second round, third round. I thought he clearly won them 2 rounds. I thought the first round was, that round genuinely was a nip and tuck round. It was kind of what you preferred. You could have given it to either. And I thought Glenn nicked the last round. I thought the last round was a close round, but I thought Glenn was more dominant in the last round. I thought Alan tired. But again, it's a tough fight, But I think Glenn showed in that fight that he's not going to be an easy night to work for anybody as he goes through the levels. Because I think he showed the other night, which a lot of pros get found out later down the road, that they don't have heart or they don't have balls. But I think Glenn clearly showed the other night that he has heart and balls in abundance, and he can box. Because at times he showed some lovely body shots and he threw some lovely uppercuts on the inside as well. I found at times when Alan was coming at him, he was in a corner at one stage to my right, and Alan came in, and the way he rolled out of the corner and turned, and he caught Alan with a lovely right hand and left hook. I thought it was really nice, and I thought he showed a glimpse of what he showed me in camp and what he showed me before in his other fights. But again, he also showed he was fit enough to do 4 really tough rounds in a very small ring. So, I'd be looking at probably stepping Glenn up to 6 rounds straight away, to be honest with you, because I think, 6 rounds against a lesser journeyman, I don't think it'll be a problem to Glenn, to be really honest with you. I think he'll breeze through that. It's not going to be fast-tracked. He's going to be sticking to the plan. The next opponent won't be a war. He's done his war. I didn't think it would be as much of a war. I thought it'd be a tough fight, but I thought, he would come through it. I thought, and he did come through it, but I didn't think it'd be as tough as it would be. And I feel, he's ready now to go to, his next opponent, I want him to be able to show his boxing skills, not his toughness and his grit, because you can't go through all fights like that through your whole career. So the next fight, the plan is, I want to get an opponent that he can show his boxing skills. He can pick shots and he can make his opponent miss and he can counter punch and he can show what he's capable of doing, because he has to show every side of the boxing game and he has to learn and stuff like that. So that's the plan for the next fight.
Obviously, a rarity probably, and I know you've sort of spoken this as well. Obviously, Oisin Treacy obviously taking on an opponent, and I was sort of speaking to Eddie Treacy obviously at the show afterwards, and it was sort of, and you well know as well, Jay. Sometimes you can get an opponent that's 2-0 that looks good. On paper they look good and everything else, and you come in and you blow them out of the water in 30 seconds. But it's very rare you obviously find someone taking an opponent that's 2-0 with 2 stoppages on their debut. And I guess obviously the fight showed the sort of as a nip and tuck fight. I know Oisin won it 39-38 on the card.
Yeah, it wasn't that though.
But obviously, I didn't get to see see all the fight, obviously, there at the time, but obviously from anybody I was speaking to, they were saying it was sort of nip and tuck, sort of, but another great test, and probably
I thought O'Shea won the first 2 rounds. I thought O'Shea won the first 2 rounds very good. I thought the third round he got dragged into a fight, and the fourth round was more of a fight. But I thought O'Shea nicked the last round as well. The reason I'll be straightly honest with anybody that's listening, that opponent was for Glenn. That was Glenn's opponent when I started doing the matchmaking. But I was doing the matchmaking on Saturday, and I had Glenn down to fight him. And what happened was we went up sparring on the Sunday morning, O'Shea and Glenn and Matthew. And when we came out of the sparring, Glenn sparred well, but he was getting caught too much by O'Shea. And when we come out of sparring, we always talk about the sparring and the whole lot. And I just asked Glenn, how do you that one today? He goes, he says, I just cannot deal with O'Shea. He says, I don't know what it is, whether it's his range, his height. He says, I just seem to get caught a lot by him. And he goes, I was never good, he said, against tall opponents. And when I looked at your man's videos and I studied him, your man was tall. So I kind of said, I could be throwing my brother to the wolves here. He's told me he doesn't like fighting tall opponents. He doesn't like sparring tall opponents. He's not used to it. He needs to work on it. So I said, right, let me have a look. So I went and studied your man again. And from watching the sparring in camp, I sparred Oisin myself as well. But from watching the sparring in camp, I felt Oisin looked the more dominant. And I said, Oisin will deal with this lad. There won't be a problem. Now, I personally feel if it wasn't Oisin's debut, and if I get him that fella next week in a maybe a little bit quieter of a venue with a little less crowd, Oisin would stop that fella. I think he'd stop him in 2 or 3 rounds. And I personally feel that the first 2 rounds are great, but I just feel that the adrenaline and the crowd and everything just slightly got the better of Oisin. And in the last couple of rounds, his legs went and his energy levels dropped because of how big of an occasion it was and the huge crowd he had going. But again, in my opinion, that was probably the biggest win for a debut, the biggest debut win in Irish boxing. Because, as you just said, he wasn't a 2-0 opponent that was handpicked to come in and that was going to fall on the floor and you blow him away. He was game, that kid. Like, he was a tough guy, he didn't let up. And Oisin said he was the hardest fella he'd ever been hit by. So I just hope Oisin gets a credit for beating what he beat in front of him. And again, Oisin's next fight, he won't be going into a war again either. He's shown he has balls. He's shown he has grit. He's shown he can stand and trade. He's shown he can take a punch. So we've already ticked that box. So now we move on to something else. And that's the plan with Oisin and Glenn now in their next 2 fights.
Definitely, they're definitely very, very good debuts. Obviously, I guess in some ways, obviously Matthew Tyndall, obviously with his debut, he was sort of disappointed at the fact that the opponent, obviously, I think the opponent pulled out with a shoulder injury. I think he said he hurt his left shoulder. But Matthew, obviously,
to be fair to the opponent, I didn't think on the night he had a shoulder injury, but I was talking to his manager yesterday in regards. I'm doing matching for a show which is in less than a month, and I actually inquired about him as an opponent, and he is out injured. So, if he wasn't injured the other night and he was playing on it, I'm sure they would have said, yeah, he has a slight injury, but I'm sure he'll be okay. They didn't. They ruled him out, so he's not able to fight in a month's time. He's injured. So I would say, and the night I didn't think so because I didn't think he threw anything to get hurt, and then Matthew definitely didn't hit him in the shoulder. So, but again, I've had shoulder injuries myself where it's the slightest twist, it's the slightest turn, and you can damage a rotator or something like that. So I'll give credit to the fella. He did possibly get a slight injury. Either way, it didn't matter if he got an injury or not. That fight wasn't going past 2 rounds. I thought Matthew was sensational. I know it's hard to probably believe him saying that after 3 minutes work, but I think anyone with a boxing brain can see for the first minute Matthew sussed him out. He took his time. He was calculated, composed. He was watching what the guy was doing. He started slowly but surely increasing his work rate. And from minute 2 on, I thought he was exceptional. I thought the boxing, the skills, he never wasted a shot. He landed, I think it was 4 or 5 clean uppercuts. He was I thought he was really, really good for it. You have to remember, Matthew's been out of the ring for a long time. He was 95 kilos in April. And on the 3rd of November, he got into the ring after weighing in at 70 kilos. And it's a journey. It's a it's a journey for Matthew. The next part of the journey is just bringing the weight down another little bit and another little bit. And after Christmas, we'll be back down to where he's going to fight, and that'll be at light welterweight.
They obviously see it. It's obviously, I know the weight cutting stuff he's had, and they sort of said, and I use sort of Ricky Hatton's excuse. A lot of fighters sometimes between fights will pulling up, they'll go on the drink, they'll eat Chinese, they'll eat kebabs. Matthew was like, nope, I'm doing it the total opposite. I don't want to be going into camps for fights and it being a weight loss. He wants to obviously technique and everything else. So he wants to get down to obviously super lightweight, light welterweight. And obviously he'll be a beast at that weight, particularly from what we've seen of him so far.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you, any of the lads I signed, though, I wouldn't really be happy if any of them are doing that ballooning and like out of camp. I never really done it myself. I used to fight at kind of 69 kilos, between 69 kilos, 66 and 69 kilos, and I always walked around about 73, 74, maybe 75, unless I had an injury and was out for a while. But you're a professional athlete. I know Ricky Hatton and all done it, they were world champions, Kell Brook and that done it, but there's no point in doing it. We've a busy calendar ahead of us. Busy schedules. Don't need to be looking on weight. These lads are learning their trade. Don't care how good of an amateur you are. I don't care. It's every day in that gym is a school day. And the last thing you want to be doing is going into boxing sessions or going into sparring drained because of the amount of running or the amount of starving you're doing to try hit your weight. It's just pointless. Let's do it and do it properly. And let's begin a journey. And that's what I think we've done. Senan Kelly was back in the gym on Monday. Glenn and Matthew walked into my gym. I walked in on Monday morning at 6 o'clock to take a class. And Glenn and Matthew walked in a couple of minutes later. Senan was in the gym on Monday. I seen Senan yesterday in the gym. Tony McGlynn was in the gym yesterday. So there's 4 of my lads that I've seen in the last 2 days that were actually in the gym. And I'm sure Roisin is the same. So, that's the 5 lads that fought in the show, and the 5 of them are already back in the gym because they know we have stuff coming up. They know there's a date nearly ready to be announced, and it's a quick turnaround. And then after that, there's another fairly quick go and enjoy Christmas, and even a quick turnaround again. So that's the whole point of this. It's not fighting. Sure, I'll talk to you in a few months, let you know when you're fighting again. They know when they're fighting. So why would you bother? What would you do? Eat for a number of weeks, pile on the weight, and then go, right, I've got 6 weeks now to get all that weight off me. It's pointless. Stay fit. Keep training. You can eat what you want when you're training hard, You don't have to be sparring and getting punched in the head every day, but you can still train.
I was going to say, is it that buy-in you want from any fighter you're going to sign as well? And obviously that they're committed. You want them to enjoy their journey, but you want them to have that commitment as well that they're going to. There's no point you putting 100% into them if they're not going to give 100% back to you. So there are sort of good examples for you to have of where your stable grows. You're not just going to sign anybody, probably maybe for the sake of it, but you're only going to sign people that's going to put 100% in, because there's no point you giving them 100% for you to get 20% back, or them not training or going missing. Probably a good example of that, obviously, I think Tony McGlynn obviously said that, he hasn't had that activity. That obviously now that he knows there's at least 6 fight dates for 2024, he knows he can potentially have 6 fights next year. So, and that's probably something he hasn't had before. So I guess for you, in a way, with you announcing sort of, and it obviously a lot of what you're going to do next year, fighters know that they're going to be kept busy when they sign with Jay Byrne.
Well, that's what you need. I always said it, like, you can sign fighters, but signing fighters reliant on other promotions isn't ideal. It's not something that you can really do, in my opinion, because how can I guarantee a fighter? Yeah, you're going to fight. How many times a fighter, when I'm signing a fighter, should really say to me, well, how busy am I going to be? How am I going to fight? Where am I going to fight? And I need to be able to sit down and say, well, there's my dates. Which ones do you want to fight on? Like Tony McGlynn, for instance. Tony had his comeback fight. Tony potentially will fight in 3 weeks' time. Okay, that'll be 2 fights back, possibly in a 6-round fight. Tony's then eligible, and I think good enough to go into Celtic title fight. You just have to make sure his fitness levels are high enough. So going into next year, Tony is ready for a Celtic title. Senan is ready now for a Celtic title. Maybe needs another 6-rounder, just to another tough 6-rounder like last week, and then he's a Celtic title fight. You know, the younger lads, the 3 debutants, they're only early doors, but come this time next year, I would think every one of them could be eligible to fight for Celtic titles, because we've a lot of shows next year. We've more shows now than we had last week planned for next year. The goalposts have moved slightly, and I've changed my schedule, but I confirmed it all last night. And yeah, we're going to be busier next year than we were thinking we were going to be.
So you initially planned for what, 6 shows next year? I think was it 3 Belfast, 3 Dublin. So are you saying you're probably going to do more?
Yeah, it looks like all going according to plan. I could do one show and it could collapse, but I don't think it will. I think I have the right backing of the in people. Like, I think I have the right people back in there to help and make sure everything goes according to plan. We've some great sponsors. We showed the other night. I have enough fighters now to fill, 2 cards in the warehouse, and I want to sign more fighters. I want to help other people out. I've been speaking to a few new pros, old pros, ex-pros. So yeah, this is the first time I've said it, but since last night, we've actually got 9 shows booked for next year. The venues are booked for 9 shows. We will go back to our venue from last week. That was just a stopgap venue that we used because of the way the shows fell in September, and we said we'd just jump in and see if we could get a venue. We got it. I'm actually sitting with that venue tomorrow and doing a deal with them, but the dates are all agreed. We've actually got 4 dates there next year. We'll go to the National Stadium once to twice next year, and we'll go to the Devonish 3 times next year. So I've actually spoke to Paddy signing guys up north as well. I have a great relationship with Mark Dunlop. I'm sure if I have a show up there, and I'm sure he'll want, keep his lads ticking over as well. So yeah, look, I think at the minute, I haven't announced a couple of signings, but I think I have about 10 signings at the minute. And then you've got obviously fighters that aren't signed to me that I have relationships with. Sorry?
Got 10 more signings to come?
No, about 10 in total, I think.
Cool.
And then I've got a few there, like the likes of Luke and that, who's not signed to me, but we work with Luke. There's no problems there. And obviously we had Deco last week, who was now retired. But there's other fighters there that I've spoke to that are going to be coming on the shows. And obviously I work with Ian Cochran, and he has a number of fighters as well for shows. So the way we were planning on doing a stadium show in February, but I just feel, we sold out that venue the other night at 700. We probably put on 4 or 5 more fights, and we could get probably 11 or 1200. I personally believe 2 shows in the venue the other night, full at 700, would be better than 1 show in the stadium at 11 or 1200, because 11 or 1200 in the stadium is 700 to 800 seats empty. And then you take out the bar when people are out at the bar and all that stuff, and I just think it can be like a graveyard at times. So my plan is,
I was going to say, the bigger venues sometimes are obviously hard to get the atmosphere and stuff built. It's like football stadiums. You could go to Old Trafford, and obviously, I know me and you are Man U fans, but you go to Old Trafford at times and you think you're the Wick. Whereas if you go to a smaller, more compact ground, probably like what Luton there, it always looks like it's 100% full because everything's so compact in.
That's the thing, like, and it's more cost because of the cost of 2 shows then instead of 1 show, and I get all that. But I've done the maths on it, and I know if we do it and do it right, the way we done it last week, again, it's not about making money, it's about not losing money. And I believe we could do that. So we will start after Christmas. The first show after Christmas will be February 9th in the warehouse. That will be half of the team. Half of the boys will go out on the February 9th in the warehouse, and the second half will be out 4 weeks later on March the 1st in the warehouse.
Great.
We then go to the Devonish on April 6th.
March.
Yeah, that'll be February 9th warehouse, March 1st warehouse. We go to the Devonish on April 6th. And then the plan is that'll be 3 different cards. So there'll be 3 different range of fighters, 3 different cards from fighters from different areas. Like I've got, as you know, I've got Glenn, South Dublin Bray, Matthew Bray, Oisin Bray, I've Eddie Treacy coming back Bray. There's 4 lads from the south side of Dublin, coming back or have to fight. So they'll probably go on one card with 3 others, you get me? And then I've got Tony McLean, who's north side. I've got Robbie Burke, who signed. I just haven't announced it yet. Robbie Burke will be coming back, making his comeback in February. He has a big following that comes from the north side as well. So I'll be keeping that kind of, so we'll be bringing the big north side crowd in one night, and the other night we're bringing in the big south side crowd, and then we go to the Devonish, and I've been chatting to a couple of lads up north, signed a couple of lads up north. I've also, Ian Cochran has James Freeman and that up there as well, that are looking at Poddy as lads up there that want to get on. So we'll do a show up in the Devonish, and again we'll have some of the lads up there, but also some of the lads down here will go up, because I need to promote them around the country. And they'll go up there and make a small card up there, a 6 or 7 fight card up there. And then the plan will be to come back to the stadium on May 25th for a big, big night of boxing. And that will be, all the lads have got out. They've all got their comeback fights. They've got their 6 rounds eligibility or 8 round eligibility, whatever's needed. And then come May 25th, we put all the cards together. So we've got our south side card as such. We've our north side card as such. We've got our Belfast card. We'll get the 3 cards together. And then that's when we'll have a big list of fighters, and we'll make a nice 12 to 14 fight card in the National Stadium. And I've already made some matches, but please God, we could have 3 or 4 title fights that night. And then when we finish that, I'll be back to the drawing board. We'll go to Devonish then in July as planned, and then we have the Warehouse August, September, back to the Devonish in October, and then please God, all going according to plan. End the year, the end of November, start of December, with a night in the stadium. Again, another big, massive night for title fights and things like that, where they've all gone off, they've got their wins on the smaller shows, and then we all come back to the stadium, bring the 3 cards or the 3 groups back together on the stadium at the end of the year. That's my plan. That may fall asunder, Stephen, but without a plan, you go nowhere, and that's my plan. My first plan was to do what I done Friday night. I feel it was a big success. Got it off the ground. We've done it, and it worked really well. This is my plan now, and I don't see a problem with that plan. It's doable. Financially, it's doable. With the guys I have wanting activity and wanting to keep busy, it works. The venue are absolutely over the moon with us. We've the Devonish already booked in. We've the stadium booked in for measures confirmed the other day today. So that's my dates next year. Again, everything I've said there is doable, I believe, and I wouldn't be setting the plan if I didn't think it was. I don't think it's a big ask. I think it's, once the lads do their end of things, it's not 9 fights. Well, young Matthew or young Glenn are going to fight 9 times next year. How could you expect them to fight 9 times and do tickets 9 times? Whatever. That's not about that. As I said to you, I just believe going to the stadium with a card of 12, you get 1,000 to 1,200 people. It's a half full stadium. Doing 2 small warehouse shows 4 weeks apart, we could fill both of them out. And I'd rather 2 packed out venues like Friday than 1 half full venue. Okay, it's double the cost of running the show, but it's double the income as well, because you're splitting the groups. So it's a catch-22, and I think it's a catch-22 that works for us. You know what I mean? And I do. I think it's activity. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant for Irish boxing. And I'm a fan of boxing. Like I'm not just a promoter and a manager and an ex-boxer and a coach, whatever I am. I'm a fan of boxing. I think this is brilliant. Like the feedback I'm getting, I listen to it all of yourselves, because you are very important and you go to all the shows, and I've got great feedback from you guys. But the feedback I'm getting is from my cousins, my female cousins, my aunties, Matthew's mothers, and females from my gym who went to support. They're not just boxing people. I told you on the interview 1 at the press conference that I wanted to bring a night's entertainment. I pulled that together in 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks. Give me 3 months, and it will be an action-packed night of entertainment. It'll be a bigger ring as well the next time as well, but it'll be a full night entertainment where we're not just entertaining with boxing. We're entertaining with entertainment. So it's a great night out for the family.
Picking this back up, we'd planned for 40 minutes initially, but I guess when you're having a laugh and you have the passion and everything else, obviously we overextend sometimes. So you'd sort of got to your last point there, and obviously Jay, about the credit and stuff, you obviously the feedback and stuff you were getting from people. I guess, you know, it's all well and good sort of having people's feedback and things like that, but I guess for you more than anything, it's probably how you feel about things. And everybody's always seen the passion you had for boxing. Is this your sort of fulfillment now of you being retired? You know, I know obviously you've retired, obviously in Newcastle, obviously in your last fight. Is this you sort of giving back to boxing now? Is this keeps you happy rather than you having to have to fight with the missus to go, I'll get in there for another one? Does this keep you away from boxing now completely now as a promoter and a manager?
I was 100% the one anyway. But yeah, it's always something I'd loved. You know what I mean? I used to run amateur shows. I ran a couple of the semi-pro shows. It was always something I was going to go into. It was just when. I tried a few years ago and it wasn't the right time. I won't go into it, but it wasn't the right time. And I just felt this was the right time. Again, I was planning on, tippy-toeing around and starting in February. And obviously, with the shows falling through and that, I said, you know what, if I could do something here, that could be a really nice time to do it, to help the lads out especially, and then to get the ball rolling. And I did, and it's took off. So, look, I'd love to be doing this for the next 10, 15 years. You know, like, I genuinely would. Like, if this grows the way I think it'll grow, I will do it for the next 10, 15 years. You know, maybe 20 years. Has to make sense. Again, I don't mind not making money, but you got to make sure you're not losing money. I'm not going to pay to have people fight. As in, I'm not going to run a show and at the end of it go, well, I only lost $5,000 or I only lost 10 grand because I have a wife and I have two kids and I'm sure they'd rather me hand them 5 grand or 10 grand and not have to do any work. You know, so it just has to make sense. And it will make sense. I think sponsors get great value for money. I think the place was well lit up the other night with our sponsors. I don't think there's a photograph that went out that hasn't got our sponsors branding in it. They were well covered around the ring. Between all the fights, you had the screen with all their logos on it and the whole lot. And I hope then sponsors get rewarded because with good sponsorship, this can go really, really far. Again, I think the prices for sponsorship is quite fair. And I hope that people who've seen it the other night, which I know a couple have already come on to me, different people have come on to me already, mentioning it. And the sponsors that were there tonight were very, very happy and they came and they said they want to stay on board now, which is great. And I really appreciate that. So I really hope people see what we're doing, see that we do appreciate our sponsors, and they got a full page in the program on the night. Their name is all over the board for the night. The Tober owns had them on it. There was stickers around the area. The ring post had stickers on it with their names on it. We felt that we had to make sure their branding got out there because without them, very, very hard to run shows to break even or to make a few bob. So again, moving forward, I hope with the amount of shows we have that we'll get more sponsors on board. And the more sponsors we have, the easier this becomes and the bigger platforms we can set. And then I would love to. We had the pay-per-view streaming service the other day, which done really well, considering it was a kind of last minute thing because it sold out. I would like that to grow, and I'd like to. My aim would be to be getting some form of TV on board. I have been speaking to one service. I won't say who, but I should know in the next few days about that one, and that could be another big platform for us. And then as their platforms grow and the fighters get more established and the newer fighters start winning, and the ones we have, the Tonys and the Senans who are already 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 0, as they start growing, they're going to become bigger and more meaningful fights, which will draw bigger crowds and will draw TV and platforms, etc. So I just hope everything goes the way it should go. And if it does, I think this could be exciting.
Obviously, with 9 shows planned and obviously three different venues, obviously next year, I guess, they really like to get more sponsors involved there as well because, yes, we know that sponsorship, particularly of fighters and obviously particularly shows, is of the most importance. If obviously, I guess you're marketing yourself in the right way, where if you're in at least 3 different venues, granted 2 of them in Dublin, 1 of them in Belfast, it suits companies all over. If there's companies that obviously just deal in Belfast that want to be known more in the south or vice versa,
yeah.
You're branching yourself out in the right way. So I'm guessing you'd probably like to get more sponsors involved.
100%. Look, I mean, everything was last minute. Like, I hadn't got time to get a ring mat made. I hadn't got rope covers made. You know, I just had to make do. I had to hire in a ring and I had to use the standard ring mat and all. But I went and got the Toblerones made and I got stickers made for the corners of the ring and that because I needed to get I wanted to get the sponsors out there. But ideally, going into next year, well, not ideally, it is happening. I've already kind of got me quotes and things for it and getting it made. I'm getting a ring mat made and the sponsors will go on that ring mat. So they'll be there. So they'll be a mainstay on our shows that we use that ring in, for instance, in the warehouse. So for 4 shows, they will be on the ring mat, guaranteed. You know, once they agree to the fees and things like that. And then you'll have Toblerones, you've got the programs. But there's nothing to say that you can't have, you know, in the entrance there the other night, there's nothing to say that you can't have pop-up tables with sponsorships there if you want to hand out flyers or if you want to hand out samples of some products or, you know, key rings, pens, marketing tools. There's no problem to do any of that. Like, you know, it's about marketing things right, not just the promotion, but marketing everything right. So our sponsors can come, they can mark up Blanchardstown 4x4 there. There's no reason why they couldn't park some Jeeps outside with their branding on. You know, there's a lot that can happen, you know, and but again, everything's at last minute. And I know everyone's aware. I put it up the other day. There possibly could be another date in 2023.
Can I throw a stab in the dark at what it could be?
Yeah, yeah,
Galway.
yeah. There's a we're nearly over the line with that one. It's we're just trying to get that across the line at the minute. That'll be just we're chatting away. I'm chatting with Jamie at the minute. We're just putting the last dots on the I's and crosses on the T's. And it will be a quick turnaround because it's December 1st. And just a couple of small things that just need to be ironed out. But to the extent that a lot of stuff is already booked for us, we've booked a lot of stuff. We had a meeting on Monday and we've got stuff booked and we've got a lot of stuff in. So again, there's just one or two little things just at the minute that just has to be confirmed. And once they're confirmed, that'll be announced instantly and that will be a quick turnaround. It's probably not ideal for you guys because you have obviously mixed big one and you have the whole week up there in Belfast and Galway. The Belfast is a fair trek, I understand that. But on the other side of the coin, you know, there's other people in the country that need to be looked after as well. And I think Kieran is one that needs his fight, and the date suits them. So that's why we're stepping in, and we're going to help out and get that across the line and do that on behalf of Mick and Jamie. Because obviously they're going to be tied up with the big show in Belfast. But that's what I said earlier on about all promoters working together. I think Mick and Jamie know after our show the other day, well, these lads are well capable of running the show and they have trust and faith in us that we can come and do that show and deliver to a standard that they would require for their promotion. So it will be, yeah, please God will go across the line today. I have another chat with Jamie today just to confirm everything and get it all boxed off. And yeah, that could be another show. So we could have 2 shows in a month then, which would be a great start for us. And it's the opposite side of the country as well.
That adrenaline rush. Obviously, I was in Galway the last time, and obviously the show was sold out. I think Kieran had sold 95% of the tickets himself. And obviously, I guess it's when that's a promoter sort of dream, and obviously it's even though you know it's unless you know it's what just over 3 weeks time, you know that obviously you don't really have to worry about tickets because Kieran and his dad probably pretty much nearly everything already sold. So you probably really have to worry about opponents and obviously how the setup's going to look on the nights. So just so you can sort of put wee finishing touches to things.
Yeah, well, the plan will be to if we can get this across the line today, which please God we can. We're all very hopeful that we can get it across the line today. If we can, it will be I will go straight to Galway on Saturday, and I'll meet Kieran's dad and I'll meet the venue and I'll have a look and I'll put together my way of doing what way I want the venue looking. Go through things. I know there's stuff booked down there already as well because Kieran's dad has done a bit of stuff as well on behalf of the show. So I just need to go through that. I've done a lot of stuff on my end as well in the last couple of days since we had our meeting on Monday. And yeah, look, it will be a quick turnaround, but again, work is being done. And when you're fresh off running the show, everything's still there. You're still in talks with all your people and all. So it's just a matter of getting things ordered and organised and that. So yes, quick turnaround, but you know, your opponents you don't do until a week or 2 out anyway because they're journeymen and they can be stopped. So it's the last couple of weeks you confirm them. They're the most important. The home fighters, you know, Kieran is obviously ready. He knows he'll be fighting on it. I've spoke to 1 or 2 others, but also my guys who just fought the weekend. A lot of them will make the trip down and have another fight on that as well. So it's not as if you're going thinking you've nobody after doing the camp. All my lads are ready. Hence the reason why they're all back in the gym this week and they're they're staying ready because they know they're waiting on a phone call now to say yes 100%. At the minute, it's probably at 95%.
It's a great
So
adrenaline rush for you. Obviously, just you come back off one, you sort of don't really have time to relax and obviously go another. And I know obviously you thank your missus obviously for all their support and counselling and everything else the other day. It's obviously you use a retired boxer now, and I've said to Jamie probably as well. Jamie's probably in the house less than probably he was as a boxer and things like that. So you probably, but I guess when you're having to obviously look after other people other than yourself, you're obviously going to make sure you go to extra effort. So you'll probably be in the house less, which will probably be good news for your missus, not having to deal with particularly United not playing well at the moment either.
stop. Well, when United played, I'll run upstairs and leave me down my own. But no, look, the way I look at it is a lot of my stuff. I travel a lot with working out. I obviously live down the country now. I live down in Wicklow, and like we travel to work in the morning is like an hour and a half. We travel home in the evening is an hour and a half. So a lot of what I do is on the phone. So I do it while I'm traveling, believe it or not. And then when I come home at night, I'd be on the laptop for work anyway. So I'm doing my emails and doing some stuff for work and the whole lot. And I do tend to, you know, get a lot of my stuff done, my paperwork that I have to get done for the show in the evenings. You know, I'm sitting here in the evenings. I come home, I turn on the laptop. Where I'm sitting now, I turn home, have my dinner. You know, if we have anything to do, like a couple of nights a week, myself and Louise go to the gym together and we do a class with my gym and that. But the other nights, you know, I'm sitting here with the laptop on, I'm doing a bit of work, we're chatting away and the whole lot, and we do have a bit of time together where we're having, you know, couples chat as you do, like, and I'll be sitting on the laptop and I could be organising stuff and doing stuff. But like, I'm an organizer, always have been. It's what I do, you know. On in an hour and a half traveling to work, I could get so much done. You know, all my matchmaking and everything is done through WhatsApp, so I can do that throughout the day. You know, as I'm pottering around, like I was on site last week. I managed the engineers on site, but occasionally I had to go to site myself and do a lot of the work with the lads. And you know, coming up to the fight, the show, I was on site full time for them 3 weeks coming up to the show. It never affected work. It never affected the show. You know, again, once I have my phone with me and I can take a call, I can have my phone on my earphones. I can walk around the job working away while I'm, you know, organising a venue or organising something with the BUI or that. And, you know, again, once I give the deadlines, I'm kind of a little bit anal like that where once the deadlines are there, I want to hit them. I want to make sure I hit them in time and I get the paperwork across. I always confirm and double check. Can you please check, make sure everything is sufficing. It's the way it should be, blah, blah, blah. And any paperwork documents, okay, at the weekends, I've meeting the lads, getting to sign waiver, sign contracts and things like that. And then on a Monday morning, boom, they were gone. They were into the BOI. So, no, I manage my time well, you know. I try not make it affect the family. I try not make them, you know, miss out on anything or make me, with me not being around. And I kind of do be around. I do a lot of the work from the position I'm in now. And if it's not then, it's the traveling back and forth and the school run in the mornings when I'm on my way to work and things like that. So, you know, it's, you know, I actually found it quite handy, believe it or not. I don't want to jinx it, but I found it quite handy. I was worried because I'd never done a professional one before, but I'd done so many good shows before. And it was only when I sat back on the night and I kind of looked around and I took a picture and I made a couple of videos and I kind of looked and went, this is exactly how I planned on it being. You know, it was exactly like that piece of paper I had on my kitchen table after I left the venue on day one when I drew it all out just in the pen. And when I went home, it was still there and I looked at it and that's exactly the way I planned it to be and that's exactly how it turned out. You know, I kind of have an eye for that kind of thing. So, you know, I don't see any issue. Like now I know the processes and now I know the procedures around and I made one or two little mistakes coming into it. That I was like, oh shit, didn't do that right or blah blah blah, you know. So I'll be making sure again that everything goes without a hitch and that everything's on time and things like that. Because again, that's my job, you know.
Well, look, obviously, I know I'm just thinking more of obviously it's keeping people listening towards the end. Obviously, I think it's about an hour and 10. Maybe now we've done on this, but thanks. Obviously, it's good to get obviously a catch up. I didn't obviously get it done in the night because of the 2 hour trip back home. I was more worried and keeping my eyes open, obviously driving
Yeah.
home rather than obviously falling asleep somewhere. But thanks obviously for your time. Obviously, it's great to obviously have you. Obviously, 1-0 now as a promoter. Obviously, now you're on the trend of the promotion. Fingers crossed. Obviously, Galway does go ahead. Obviously, in a couple of weeks' time, but I'm sure we'll obviously catch up with you very very soon. I'm sure we'll get another chat again soon.
Yeah, once that gets to go ahead, I'll be in touch with all the three regular lads, and I'll be making sure you know straight away.
Definitely. Well, thanks very much for your time, Jay, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks very much, Stephen, and talk to you soon, brother.
Cheers,
Mind
take
yourself,
care.
pal. Thank
Thanks,
you.
bye-bye. Bye-bye.